On Saturday, December 16th, on the undercard of Rodriguez versus Edwards, Rico O'Quinn shocked the world and Peter Grail with a devastating KO for one of the Intercontinental titles at Super Bantamweight. Let's talk about this fight. In another card that is closing out the year so well for DAZN, on the undercard of Rodriguez versus Edwards, Peter McGrail and Rico O'Quinn fought for the WBA Continental Super Bantamweight title, and this fight turned out to be one of the most exciting knockdown dragouts that we've had in recent memory. This fight was a part of a card that was pretty strong, with the main event with Rodriguez and Edwards unifying their flyweight titles, the WBC and, the IBF and the WBO. These men fought and put on such a stellar match, but it was this undercard fight between McGrail and O'Quinn that made me sit up in my seat. I looked at this fight and I said, this is why I love the sport of boxing. McGrail comes out of this fight the loser. His record is now 8-1 with 5 KOs, but he came into this bout as a Super Bantam hopeful from the UK. He had a decent amateur background and they were building him to focus him in these fights. Being brought to the Americas to showcase him against a fighter like Rico O'Quinn was supposed to establish him as someone that you can look forward to in the future. The only thing is that Quinn happened to be an accomplished fighter with the type of skill set that can offset guys that have boxed within a small framework. What I mean by that is McGrail's talents and abilities were focused on primarily hunting a guy down, banging him with hard shots, not really operating behind a jab, but trying to be physically imposing. And immediately from the onset of the first round, O'Quinn, was able to show his hand speed and pop on his punches as the fight started off with them exchanging blows almost right out of the gate. However, O'Quinn wasn't as accurate as you may have wanted him to be, and McGrail was definitely playing the role of the enforcer. Also, what I was able to notice is the fact that McGrail, being the fighter that's orthodox against this southpaw, was definitely trying to get the right hand in against McGrail, and McGrail at first showed that he was well conditioned operating behind good power punches. However, as the rounds went on, we began to see some things change. And what changed first and foremost was the punches that weren't landing early began to land after a couple of rounds. Plus, he had the benefit of having dropped O'Quinn in round 2 and round 4. This led to a bit of false confidence because McGrail was thinking that it's just a matter of time. However, O'Quinn never stopped letting his hands go, and the knockdowns did not fluster him at all. He began to throw combination punches, catching McGrail walking in, and fatigue was starting to set in with McGrail, so the superior hand and foot speed showed, and the athleticism, because Rico was able to move laterally, he was able to circle, and though I am not an advocate of fighters fighting out of the triangle, the pit of the corners, like where fighters sit, he was able to throw shots in anticipation of Grail coming in. And what do you know? Lo and behold, in the 5th round, as he caught Grail coming in, hands low, but O'Quinn's hands being fast, nailed him a shot with that right hand right on the chin, and Grail went down in a heap. This was very action-packed. Now both men had hit the canvas in this fight, a tug of war, if you will, going back and forth between two men who are bantamweights. And that solid counter right led to a good night for Peter Grail. He was not able to get up from this shot. But what was even more interesting was the fact that Rico O'Quinn never stopped competing. Even though he had been dropped, even though he knew that he was behind, even though he knew that he was brought in as an opponent, this young man fought with spirit. And I love that. I love the fact that you have a guy who is willing to get in there and mix it up and give it a shot. His orthodox stance, his boxing ability prevailed for him, and he was able to capture this victory via KO by sticking to what he does best, not being rattled. Grail was unable to beat the count. This was a solid knockout. This was not a TKO. This is not where the referee jumped in and saved someone. He walked into that shot similarly to when Manny Pacquiao walked into that right hand by Juan Manuel Marquez. And so, to the victor goes the spoils. And on this particular night, Rico O'Quinn spoiled that debut for Peter Grail. He had his hand raised in victory. His record now is 17-1 with 1 draw and 9 KOs. They will probably have a rematch at some time in 2024. Usually Matchroom and Hearn likes to do that. But this Detroit, Michigan native can raise his head up high, because now he is a super bantamweight to be contended with in this division. He showed someone who had far better amateur experience through path as a professional. And salute to Rico O'Quinn. I look to see him once again. This is Stormy B-Man. Shout out to the mighty LDBC and Liberated Perspective, a third eye view of the world. For more content such as this, please like, comment, subscribe, and share. Go back, take a look at this particular fight, and be enjoyed and thrilled. Peace to everyone out there, and everyone please remain safe.